to Butch and Jeffrey, we try to inspire the young people here in Brazil to follow the scientific career, maybe be an astronaut. I want to know what inspired you to follow to be an astronaut, and how your background, academics background or military background, help you in the astronaut career for both of you.
I think initially for me it was a desire to do my part for my country. As I went through high school and into college, I majored in electrical engineering, and I really wanted to do my part. I didn't know how to do that, how I would go about that, but I had this airplane in my mind's eye, a jet airplane. It wasn't a Navy airplane. I came to find out it was a different. But anyway, I chose that path, and fortunately was able to select jet aircraft, flew on aircraft carriers, did that for many years, many deployments. Requested to go into test pilot training because to use my engineering background, and was selected for that, and then had a lot of the wickets that you needed at the time to make application to be a space shuttle pilot. And so I thought, well, you can't fly any higher than faster than a space shuttle at the time. So I thought, well, we'll try that. And
why not?
I think it was my fourth application that I finally got selected. So that was the initial part, as far as going to and getting into this business. I'm very grateful, very privileged to serve our nation in its military. And I think any nation, anyone that does it in any nation would have the same feeling, should have the same feeling. It's a privilege to be able to do that, and certainly to get selected by NASA and serve in that capacity as well, since it's even fewer astronauts, right? That's even more of a privilege, if you will, to continue to serve your country in that manner, because it does take a great deal of commitment and a great deal of preparation. John Young, one of the 12 men to step foot on the surface of the moon, was in the astronaut corps. Of course, he was kind of emeritus, still there around, but wasn't going to be flying in space. He said, if you're not willing to put in 10 hours a day, eight days a week, you don't need to be here. Well, if you hear what I said. There's more than 8. There's not 8 days in a week, right?
Yeah.
You got to put in what's required, and then balancing that with my responsibilities, my God-given responsibilities as a husband, and then eventually as a father. Making that balance is very important. It's vital. You can't have a family and do the things that God would have us do, and be the men that God would have us be, if you're not putting your wife first, your children, second, if you will. If you had to rack and stack them, and work is way down the list. And to have a job that requires so much, it's very difficult to balance all of that out. So that's a challenge that prayerfully we weathered that storm, and we were able to make all that happen.
Yeah, I remember being influenced by a 6th grade science teacher. Really turned me on, kind of turned a corner, turned me on to math and science. So I was interested in that. And then later, I also had a desire to serve our country in the military, and learned about the academies halfway through high school and applied, got accepted to West Point. And there I got introduced to flying. And I thought I'd want to be an engineer going there. I thought a civil engineer, but introduction to flying, I changed my goal to aeronautical engineer. So that was my focus, both in undergraduate and later in graduate school, after going to flight school. Also, while I was a cadet at West Point, I read Tom Wolfe's book, The Right Stuff. And that, along with a couple of mentors there, turned me on to aspire to become an experimental test pilot and a NASA astronaut. So that was in the late 70s. And I applied over 10 years, 6 times before getting selected. Selected in 1996. So that's just a few elements that led to it.
Yeah, I'll let me add this little story. I came to NASA for my last time of interviews when I was selected, and they gave us access to where the astronauts, where they were on where their offices are. And so I'm walking down the hallway. I had never met Jeff, and I see him at the other end of the hallway. I don't know if you even remember this, Jeff. I'm like, Jeff Williams, I know you. And of course, he immediately thinks, who's this stalker? How'd this stalker get up here on our floor? But the reason I knew him is because he had taken a MacArthur Study Bible to space on his first mission. And of course, I, being a believer or being a Christian, I knew about that. And that was something that was, it was inspiring, and professing Christ and knowing he'd taken the Bible up. Do you even remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And you did think I was a stalker, didn't you?
No. I think we clicked right away, actually, because of our common faith.
Right. Anyway, so I was going to say that, inspired by astronauts, older astronauts that came before us. And by older, Jeff is older than me, so he inspired me as well. So
That's great. That's great.
But we shared many years with a common career. That he and I one of our favorite things was grab a T-38 and go.
But you never
go
fly
flying somewhere.
together.
Oh yeah, we overlapped together. His first flight on STS-129 in the fall of
2009.
2009, I was on board Space Station
Oh, that's
in the
great.
middle of expedition at the end of 21, transitioning to 22, and they came up. So we overlapped in space about 8 days or so.
Yeah, 10 days. Yeah, about.
That's good.
Sure did.
The missions on Shuttle era were,
Much shorter. Oh,
Yeah, much shorter.
7 days to a couple weeks. Right.
Yeah, and from a space station crew point of view, it was a great day when they arrived and a great day when they left. It's sort of like your extended family that come to visit for the holidays.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like I always say in Brazil, that is two happiness, when they come and when they go.
Exactly. Same on Space Station. Some things don't change.